Okay, welcome to Behind the Mask with me, Phoenix, Sarah. And yeah, I just want to introduce Sarah, beautiful sister, medicine woman, um, fellow dancing freedom facilitator, and yeah, just been really enjoying getting to know you over these past year and a half, 2 years almost, since you trained with
Mhm.
me, and just again, like wearing the different hats, like participant in the training, become like friend, and we've been just doing so many rituals and praying so deeply together over this past year, and I really want to welcome you here. And yeah, if there's anything you want to share about yourself before we launch into today's topic, I'd love to give you the opportunity to share a little bit about who you are.
Mm, thank you. I am Sarah and also Earth Dancer. This has been a title that I've been moving with for some time with some of the work that I'm weaving in the world, some of the ritual sound tapestries that I make, and in some ritual formats, I hold the essence and embody the energy of Earth Dancer, which to me is just a being of the stars who comes here on earth to dance and share her medicine in that way. So that's who I am. And yeah, happy to be
Yeah,
here with you.
yeah, I'm happy for you to be here as well. And yeah, today I'd really like to talk about moving with uncertainty. Right before Sarah and I got on this call, I was sharing. I every Friday, most Fridays, I have my coach that I meet with. He's an amazing space holder. I've been working with him for nearly 3 years now, and just the space that he holds for me to really unpack and unfurl is just so exquisite and quite vulnerable and tender. So I just spent like the past previous hour in tears meeting with some of my own uncertainties in the world. So it's very much in tune and on time with what you and I had already spoken about bringing, presenting, distilling in our own way this morning. And so, yeah, I'd like to even just start this conversation with you around uncertainty. And you know that every single one of us is constantly moving with uncertainty in our lives. And there's like these specific trigger points that life just, yeah, knows exactly where to push inside of ourselves to really um, remind us how uncertain life can be at times. And that's also a test and a challenge and an invitation to find ways of moving, of navigating through these uncertain times, and especially those that are really personal to us. So I'd love to just give you some space, Sarah, if it feels good and true, to just share a little bit about where you are in your life currently with some of the uncertainties.
Mm. Yes. Mm. Yeah, currently, I know that last episode you spoke with Sabina all about, um, you know, transition as a rites of passage. And this kind of feeds into this topic of like when we're in a moment of transition, there's often uncertainty, there's often a layer of unknown as we begin to prepare ourselves to take that next step into whatever is coming, whatever part of the path we're journeying on next. And so I feel like I'm in this moment of transition and really leaning into that trust of what is next, and trusting that the next thing is there and it's not necessarily known to me yet. Um, but can I lean into that edge of mystery, of unknown, to really take that leap of into the next, into that uncertain void, and discover what's there for me in the next part of my journey. I'm preparing to move homes in this week, and there's so many moving parts and uncertainty around where I'm going to be landing next, and what practices and what things can I come back to within all of this uncertainty to navigate these spaces of uncertainty and of this mystery element. And trust is, for me, I feel like is such a big part of uncertainty. And really, I heard this beautiful definition of trust around trust being defined as a confident relationship with the unknown. And in order to really have trust, we have to have a relationship with the unknown, with uncertainty.
Yes. Yeah, reminds me of one of the kind of anecdotes that one of my teachers gave me a few years ago, was that trust grows in the center of our own fear. And that is, like, for me, the uncertainty, it's such a visceral feeling of fear that arises, and this very primal, like, what the fuck is going on, and what's going to happen, and am I going to be okay? It's like, the primal brain just thinks they're going to be annihilated, and that, I feel like, is the constant invitation to many of us, if not all of us. Are we willing to step into the uncertainty, like you say? Are we willing to step into the center of our own fear that arises in the face of uncertainty? And again, like, when my teacher mentioned that, that this is where trust grows, it made so much sense. It made so much sense. And that's been such a guiding force for me over these past couple of years. Whenever I do feel afraid, is just that reminder that this is how trust grows inside of me, this muscle of trust. And the more I can trust myself, and the more I can trust in life, in the face of the uncertainty and in the face of my fears, it's almost like it doesn't have as much power over me as it would have in the past. And the more I kind of practice stepping into that uncertainty and building and growing that trust, it's almost like there's a certainty that grows inside of me that I'm going to be okay, or that life has got my back, or that everything is going to work out exactly as it needs to. So I'm going to leave that there and see what that sparks inside of you.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I love how you shared about your teacher sharing this trust grows within that center of fear. And fear is there for a reason, right? It protects us, and it helps us take that leap of faith, right? Like, we leap when we're scared, like we leap towards whatever, like into that unknown, but that fear is what propels us forward into that space. And leap of faith is like, that movement. And we're moving in this topic, we're talking about movement through uncertainty, moving with uncertainty. And it's like, we need that movement. And, you and I, being the ritual, prayerful movement that we are, movement is such a big part of, for me, what really brings me back to myself, and supports me in tuning into that inner trust, and being able to be with the uncertainty when I can actually move my body in that space, and move it through my body, and be able to sense what is alive in my body, the fear or the of the unknown, or whatever whatever is there. And yeah, just returning back to those tools of dancing freedom, of different, somatic, experiences and work is just so important for me, and I know you as well, to be able to bring us, to anchor us into that
Yeah,
trust.
yeah, and when I hear you speaking, and again, like the general topic or theme of our chat today around like moving with uncertainty, it's like you know me well enough to, it's like the metaphor of the riverbanks, it's like I could be here like holding on, gripping onto the riverbanks, like terrified of letting go because I have no idea where this flow is going to take me.
Mm.
My mind maybe has no idea or is fearful of the journey of it taking me to the ocean, perhaps, but it's like as soon as you know, I've come to realize over these past couple of years, it's like the debilitation that comes with holding on.
Mm.
Like it's become more and more uncomfortable holding on to the riverbanks because I'm not fucking moving. It's like I'm gripping on with all of my life to these riverbanks because I'm afraid of like being in the unknown or being with the uncertainty because this riverbank is known, but it's like how long can I grip on until it's just like it gets old, or there's this knowing inside of my soul that's just like, babe, like there's more for us, and I feel grateful that this voice inside of my being has been getting louder and louder, that's just like, babe, like there's no holding on anymore, there's no more holding on, like it's time to let go. And in the letting go and moving with the uncertainty, it doesn't mean that it's all just like, yahoo, I'm totally okay with it all. Like it's exhilarating, it's terrifying. There's like so much fear that arises and doubt and insecurity, and giving myself permission to move with those feelings. Like I said, I spent an hour on the call with Morpheus. His name is Carlos, but I call him Morpheus. My coach this morning, like crying and just like, oh, I'm so scared, I don't know what's coming, I don't know, like I don't know where it is I'm being invited to put my next step, and I'm, it's like my mind has no power here. Like my mind cannot understand. Like I just found myself looping, crying, like I don't understand, I don't understand, like I don't understand what's going on, I don't understand what's being asked of me, though. Even just giving myself permission to fully surrender into that visceral expression of fear, of sadness,
Mm.
crying, letting my body have the the somatic experience of unraveling, because it's the mind trying to hold on that is causing the block. Though as soon as I give my body permission to feel its feelings and I allow my emotional body to start expressing it, it's like, oh, okay, there's so much more freedom here now on the other side. Which is why I usually do these calls on Friday after my session with my coach, because it's like it's real. Like I'm fully real in the moment because I'm going behind my own mask to reveal what's underneath there. So it's like, as he says, he's like, you're such a deep diver. He's like, you're such a deep sea diver, and you're literally going into the depths to retrieve the pearls and the gems and all the necklaces that are there. And I feel like that's, yeah, it's such
Yeah.
a important and courageous way of being, for
Mm.
each of us to find that courage to lean in, as you say, lean into the uncertainty, lean into the unknown, meeting our fear and doubt and insecurity that deepens our trust. So to hold oneself with trust in that center as we're unraveling, Like, I'm curious to hear your experience of that, and I heard you mention the tools that you use, like whether it's your dance or being in nature, though I'd love to just give you the space to share what that is for you.
Mm. Yeah, as you were sharing all this, I was remembering back to a couple of months ago, actually, maybe more than a couple of months ago, when I was really unraveling, and I was so inspired by, the Anise Nin quote that's like, when the time came that the risk to remain tight in the bud of the seed, in the flower, tight curled up, was actually more painful than the risk that it took to blossom into the beautiful flower. And this, analogy of the seed and the flower blooming, for me, yeah, I just love this. And it brings me back to nature and looking around me at all of the elements that do this on their own, like nature knows, right? And the flowers are doing it every time, every season, every time they bloom. And like, can we look around us and be inspired? I'm inspired by the flowers and the seeds and the trees that are blooming and then shedding and blooming and shedding, this natural process. And yeah, for me, that's one of the things I'm always coming back to, is seeing that around me, in mirrored to me in the natural world. And hey, if the flower is doing it, I can too. It has, the seed has the courage to crack open in the depth of the earth, right? When it can't see the light and it has no idea what is above it or anywhere, and it cracks open and actually begins to sprout before it actually sees the light. Yeah, and you asked about some of the tools that I'm using, coming back to always. And yeah, ritual and praying and being with my altar. And this is my number one, center point for bringing me back to center in as I move through all of the uncertainty. Is, can I just, even when I'm in the fear and in the just like total disillusionment of my own stories, can I return back? Can I light a candle and just be present with the element of fire on my altar, with the breath, with the air, the earth holding me below me, and that flame holding that center.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the big difference between like moving with and like resisting, or numbing out, which I think both are necessary sometimes. It's like Netflix can be like the greatest ally when used with awareness, like when used as a medicine to just like numb out for an evening or something. Though, I would say in the past, I would have kind of, and I don't want to blanket anybody. I'll just speak for myself. But in the past, I would have like spent my life running from uncertainty, or like trying to create as much control or certainty in my life as possible to ignore the fact that I'm absolutely out of fucking control, and like giving myself full sense of certainty. And that could have been like with food or with sex or with partners or with friends or, with work, being busy, like all of the things that I would kind of redirect my energy and attention to, making plans, traveling, all the things. And yeah, I would say during this past year, COVID was a real game changer for so many of us, and really like the inevitability for myself, my own experience of like, there's nowhere to run anymore, and there's nowhere to run, and there's nowhere to hide. And of course, like I can still find places to run and hide, but it just, there's something inside of me that's just like, nah, Like, I don't want to waste any more of my lifetime running or hiding from, like, what is this intelligence inside this seed? Like, what is this flower wanting to bloom into? What is this seed wanting to sprout and grow into? It's like my devotion and my commitment and my curiosity and my, like, wonder of what is this being wanting, who is she wanting to grow into, that's gotten so much greater than the desire to run and hide, which is a blessing in many ways. And also, it's just amped up. It's like amped up the game of intensity, the intensity level so much more. However, I feel like this is it. Like, I I I want to keep on moving towards this destiny that's already imprinted inside of my soul. And I want to, and I feel like the only way to meet that or move with that intensity that is coupled with the saying yes to the journey is having to my deepen my connection to the tools that anchor me, like you just said, and that's been an interesting journey for me as well, over this past couple of months. It's like I find, yeah, my practice, my morning practice, my ritual practice, being at my altar every morning, like, it just keeps on getting more and more elaborate. Which a part of me is just like, you weirdo, like, whoa. But it's also like, it's my lifeline. It's my lifeline, you know, doing the ritual, sitting at the altar, meditating, having my prayers that I offer. Now I just got a Shruti box a couple of days ago, and now, like, I'm like in love with the Shruti box, and I'm sitting at the altar and singing mantras at the altar, and it's just like, whoa. It's almost like the medicine that I need to kind of hold me in balance is meeting me, because my commitment is there. Does that resonate with you? Like, do you find that in your own experience?
Mm. Yeah. I was thrown off by what you called this, the Shruti box.
Oh, this Shruti box, it's an instrument.
A harmonium.
Well, it's a little mini harmonium.
Okay.
A
Okay.
harmonium has keys like a piano, and you
Right.
have to know how to play it. But a Shruti box is just like a drone.
I'm like, what is she talking about?
Anyway, yes, I just got a Shruti box. I got a few lent to me while I learned to play with them. But yeah, it's a new instrument that I can sing with.
Fun.
Singing
Yeah.
is one of my anchors. I feel like
Mm.
it's like the rudder of my ship. It keeps
Mm.
me centered and moving forward.
Mm.
Like
Yes.
prayer, ritual, anything that supports me to pray.
Yes. Yeah. Mm. Mm.
So yeah, like, I'm curious your journey. It seems like, you've got a pretty solid practice that support you to stay anchored. And has that always been the case? Like, so, like, I've found recently that the more intense my life is becoming, the more I need to kind of amp up my connection to the tools that support me to stay centered. And I'm curious if that's a similar experience for you, or have you always just been like,
No, definitely not.
I don't know, you are a golden child.
No, no, by far not. Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, I feel like over the last probably about 2 years, I think actually when I came to Australia is right around the time I really got started to get serious about um, showing up for myself and showing up in ritual for myself and having my, really like developing a practice for myself. Before I, yeah, it was kind of for a lot of my life in a space, you were talking about this, like, you know, self-abandoning myself so often by not showing up, not having a practice where I could return to, and seeking connection with other people and other, you know, substances or things that I could grasp to that, you know, numbed out my connection to spirit and to source. And when I would experience these states of fear or, you know, unknown and disillusionment, I would just go further into that rather than returning and sinking into myself, into my knowing, and returning to those practices. And yeah, so in the last probably about 2 years is when I've really been honing in on that. And I don't know for me if it's necessarily this correlation of my life becoming more intense that I've had to get serious about this. It's just more of like being ready to show up in a certain way in my life and really wanting to get the fullness of life, you know, and not live like a kind of a half-assed or like numbed life where I'm not really like in connection with the, you know, with the fullness of life.
Yes, that's what I was sharing with my coach this morning. It was just like, it's like, I know we all have a choice, you know. I can choose to numb out, which I do sometimes, you know, like with a Netflix or with a joint occasionally, you know. It's just like I sometimes I need to just fucking numb out. So I would say, like, en masse in my reality of my life, it's like I'm so committed to being, like I said, like, to becoming who I'm here to be. And it's become it's it's become like the choiceless choice
Mm.
to keep saying yes. And I feel like the more I say yes to being who I am, or the more I say yes to becoming fully myself,
Mm-hmm.
the more life gives me the opportunity to kind of stand up for that in the face of all of the shifts and the changes and the uncertainty. And I would say my life is more uncertain than it's ever been. It's like I don't feel like my mind works here anymore. Like, my mind does not have as much power as it used to. The mechanisms of control, I can feel them loosening, and that's scary as well. It's almost like I feel that over these past couple of months there's been like a deeper intelligence that's awoken, and that's at the helm of this ship now. And I I really have no idea who is the one that's like, but I know that she's me. Because
Yes.
she's inside of this being, and it feels very unfamiliar.
Mm.
And it's like, yeah, like really having to let go of the need to know.
Yes, that's been huge for me this year, or this last almost 2 years now. I keep saying a year, but it's over a year and a half since I've been in Australia. And yeah, this whole time, like, I've been noticing that um, the more uncertainty there is in my life, the more that it goes hand in hand for me, the more trust there is, it seems, or the more that trust muscle is worked and is strengthened. And so, you know, in this year of like, I moved to Australia, I come to Australia for, you know, for a training and to, you know, see what it has for me, and end up here a year and a half later, still in this experience and still moving on these lands and learning from this, but having absolutely no idea, you know, is this where I'm meant to be, you know, just feeling that trust muscle, strengthen and just leaning into it, and and just going with it, being like, okay, like, I have no idea, my family's on the other side of the world, all my friends are on the other side of the world, and I'm here, and I'm leaning into it every moment, every day. I have no idea. Am I supposed to go home? Am I supposed to stay? Just being present here in this moment with this experience. And yeah, whew,
Yeah.
it's been a potent
It
year
is
and a half
a
journey.
wild trip. It's such a wild trip. And that being said, I feel like the things that give me some certainty currently are like just continuing to do the things that nourish me. It's like I don't know what comes next. I have no idea. I have no plan. But there are like a few little kind of seeds that I've planted, like I'm going to do a training in November, and I'm going to go to the desert with Rivka in September, and got my new moon and my full moon ceremonies. So I guess like that is certain, but it's still like I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen, if that's even going to happen, so it's like rather than like filling my schedule or my time with all these things, it's like I'm really continue to seek out the things that bring me alive. And for me right now, that's a lot of that has to do with ritual and prayer and singing and doing these interviews and sharing and expressing with the world or with whoever chooses to engage. Continuing to show up and share my gifts and forage for mushrooms in the forest right now, and you know sit and meditate and contemplate. Like I don't need to know, or I don't know. Yeah, it's such an interesting, it's just I feel so different. Like I feel I have no, yeah, it's like I'm still getting familiar with this new version of myself, and it's a very humbling experience. um so that trust inside of me that it's like, okay, I'm just going to take this next step, and as I put my foot down, trusting that there's going to be some ground to place it on. um yeah, yeah, and I feel really grateful to have the tools that I have,
Mm.
because I know that I wouldn't be where I am right now had I not already been doing the work to kind of cultivate the resilience inside of myself to be taking these next steps deeper into my own becoming. um yeah, and so I guess just for me as like a final note that I want to share is just like the how worth it is, because I know that a year ago I wouldn't have had this much strength or this much courage, but it's like I know that I continue to build that, and it's almost like I get excited to think like, oh, all right, like I've come so far already, there's no turning back. So I just have to trust that in a few months from now I'm going to even have more resiliency, I'm going to trust in myself more, or in a year from now I'm going to have more trust, I'm going to have more faith. And like the things that I keep on praying into my life, like I don't know if they're going to be here, but it's like I'm going to keep on trusting. I'm going to keep on trusting in what my heart is longing for, because if anything, that's what's gotten me this far. Like I've wanted to be free of my attachments, and I've taken those steps, and now this is the journey of like letting go of those old attachments. And yeah, it's just continuing to trust in the intelligence that's inside of me,
Mm.
rather than what I think I need or what I think I want. Just continuing to find ways to deepen into the listening of what's already been given in a sense, and I'm just stepping towards it. I don't need to know. I'm just stepping towards it. I don't have to have it figured out, and I don't. So I'm going to just leave it there.
Yes.
Keep
So,
on contemplating that one.
yeah. Yeah, it's honestly been the biggest gift I feel for myself that I could ever give myself is to give myself the gift of showing up for myself in daily practice and daily ritual. It's, yeah, it's been so illuminating for me. And it's everything that I've always sought, or, sought outside of myself is like right there within the center of me, within the center of returning back to self, within that space, that space of devotion.
Mm. Yay. Yay for the practices that support us.
Mm.
And I feel like it
Yeah.
keeps us really real, and I mean, I guess that's the whole premise behind these episodes, it's I don't want to go back. I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to go back to the old life. I don't want to go back to hiding my true self, or hiding my tenderness and my vulnerability. Like, I don't want to live behind armor or a mask anymore.
Mm.
And so how to integrate, how to allow the vulnerability and the tenderness and the exposed self to walk hand in hand, like with courage, and let that be a strength, you know yeah. And I'm still figuring that out, still finding that way. So it's lovely to have people on the journey, that are doing that for themselves. And I know we source inspiration from one another. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It's a blessing to
Mm.
have you on this path with me, and yeah, to be a co-inspirers of the
Mm.
journey.
Yeah. Well, do you have any final words or shares that you want to offer before we complete for today?
Mm. Mm. Yeah, just a lot of gratitude and um, mm, yeah, gratitude for you, for this life, for for this life, and for the people that I feel so blessed to cross paths with, to weave paths with, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time to share today. And I wish you, yeah, I know you're like packing up your life here in Melbourne. And I wish you, yeah, many blessings on that like next step, because I know
Mm.
you're about to take a leap and you're not really sure exactly where the ground is there beneath you, though. I know that you have so much ground inside of you that will just kind of
Mm.
be there for you as you take that next step. So, yeah, sending you off with so much love and many blessings.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for those of you who are watching, those of you who have shared with us. I'll be back next week. Who knows what will happen then, but I will be back. Thanks again, Sarah. Sending you so much love.
Thank you.
Bye.